All right, welcome back, Alec. It's time to finish. Well, I guess this will probably be the last one we do for a while, at
Yeah.
least. Our Things That Define Us series.
Yeah. We had conceived this idea towards the beginning of the channel that we would sort of go through a bunch of these categories of these different aspects of different things in. Sorry, I'm going to fix my hair here. Different things, different
Yes.
art form, different things that we enjoy, different art forms, different mediums. So all of things that we didn't just want to pick favorites. We wanted to really try to like challenge ourselves to like try to pick up. Okay, they might be some of our favorites, but trying to make that a little bit more definitive of sort of like express who we are kind of as people in a way.
And it's really subjective how to even interpret that.
Yeah.
These are 10 animated films that define us.
Mm-hmm.
So previously we did, the first one was video games that define us. Then we did live action shows, animated shows and live action shows that define us. And here we are with animated films.
Yep.
So yeah, like you were saying, these would definitely not be my 5 that I would say these are my favorite animated films. Definitely not for me, especially with the way I took it.
Okay.
I tried to take it. I was stressing over the other lists before. I was like, ooh, I'm going to regret it. And I already regret half of the decisions I made. So here I'm just like, I'll take it less seriously.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like with animated films, for some reason, I find it harder to cover different aspects. Like video games and TV shows, I was able to cover. Like these are clearly different genres that I appreciate.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, when I go to animated films, I'm looking for the same kind of thing. And there are a couple of different elements that I'll talk about, but I also prioritize like ones that were important to me growing up as well. That aren't like, if I were to review them now, I might not even say that they're great movies, but they were like very present there.
Okay. I tried to take it. I tried to sort of focus. I had like different. I was thinking of sort of the way I interpret it was sort of different eras of my life in a way. It's similar to yours in the sense that it's different. A focus on kind of what you did with your shows. As I was trying to focus on different things I enjoy in animation in terms of films. Kind of difficult in a way because I was trying to restrict myself to not just pick stuff from the same studio because I like all different forms of animation, a lot of different styles. And I wanted to try to represent that while still sort of representing different parts of my life in terms of what I enjoyed. And I did find more of a focus on childhood. I suppose that is kind of maybe partially why a lot of times animation can be seen as, oh, that's just, it's a kid's thing. But there are things on my list that is not geared towards kids, one in particular. So yeah, but
All right, so these are the 10 animated films that define us, Tarqaron. We each
Tarqaron,
have 5
yes.
that we put in there. But then
Yes.
obviously, naturally, when you take 5 from each of us, those are the 10 that perfectly represent both of us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully there's no overlap. We didn't actually check
I
beforehand.
doubt it.
We haven't had any so far, which has been pretty impressive.
True. True, because we're our own individuals.
We are very, very much so. Yes.
All right, I'm going to freaking blow your mind with this first one. Okay.
That's right. Okay. All right.
Got to get it out there. Got to get it out of the way. Cars.
Okay. Okay.
Disney Pixar's Cars. Okay,
Fair enough.
This is one I would love to review sometime because a lot of these I've never taken an analytical or a critical eye to, nowadays. But Cars was like instrumental in my childhood. Like,
Okay.
I had Cars everything. I played Cars on the GameCube, which I still love.
That was an open world kind of game,
Yeah.
sort of, right?
It
Yeah.
was like open world-esque, and so I loved that. But it was also a racing game. And then, I had I had a Cars backpack. It was just my thing. I had all these little Cars figures, and
How old were you when Cars came out?
it's a good question. What year was that? 2006?
2005 or 6? I think 05. That's kind of making me second guess it now. I think
2006 just sticks out to me on Cars.
Yeah, it might be that. I'm trying to remember Because Wall-E was 2008.
2006.
Was it 2006? Okay, because Wall-E was 2008. I know that. But I just couldn't remember.
So that's almost 15 years ago now. June 2006.
Okay.
So I was 9.
I was 14. So I liked it. It wasn't definitive for me, but I appreciated it for what it was. I can totally understand that jiving with you. As a 9-year-old, yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, I loved Mater.
Yeah.
Mater.
Yeah.
And there's still something special about the first Cars to me. Like, I don't know if it holds up. I feel like it's been a few years since I watched it, so I don't know how it holds up. I mean, I hear constantly people trashing on Cars, and I'm like, all right, but it's fine.
I think it's a little dull, but personally, but I would honestly, we should go back through some of those Pixar films at some point.
It's so interesting. Like, a lot of the Pixar, especially, are ones that I haven't watched in years. Even the original Toy Story. So it's like, again, a lot of these I didn't even look at in that way that I do things now.
But it was instrumental to you growing up, though. So that's I think that makes it significant in a way.
But a lot of these, I feel like most of these are here from being impactful on me growing up. Some of them I've just seen more recently than others, but Cars had to be there. Yeah.
Right. Well, I'm going to start right off to the first film that I remember seeing in a movie theater. And I fell in love with it and the now franchise that's 4 movies strong. Hopefully they don't make any more, because I felt 4 was a solid epilogue, kind of like we were just talking about epilogues. But that's Toy Story, the original Toy Story. Still, I think to this day is my favorite Pixar film, because I was 5 when the movie came out. 4 or 5 when the movie came out. It was 95, so I was 4. And I can remember seeing it. The earliest films I remember seeing in theaters are Toy Story and the special edition of Star Wars: A New Hope. Oh. Those are the earliest films that I can remember seeing in a movie theater. And Toy Story was just so influential to me. I just completely fell in love with the story and the characters, really vibing with Woody. I thought Buzz was the coolest character ever. I had like all these little figures. To this day, I've never gotten what I've always wanted, and I might have to just spring for this once I get my my tax refund. But I've never gotten like a large style Buzz Lightyear figure, and I've always wanted one. And I never got one when I was a kid. I got some nice Woody, some larger Woody things those are pretty good. That I liked, but never got a Buzz, never got a big old Buzz. So, but yeah, I mean, what hasn't been said about Toy Story? I mean, it's got a phenomenal score. Randy Newman, the songs "You Got a Friend in Me," amazing cast of characters. You've of course got the voice talents of Tom Hanks and Tim Allen. I think established a going theme that I think has been instrumental to the more successful Pixar films, with the buddy dynamic. The 2 characters that are friends, but sometimes they, with the friction. So with Woody and Buzz, obvious friction from the very beginning. And I think it works tremendously. I think it worked extremely well in other films like Monsters, Inc., which is, I think, probably the other prime example of the buddy dynamic. But yeah, Toy Story 1, huge inspiration to me. I love all 4 films, but still holds up. First film, it's absolutely legendary film, and that final sequence, I remember it's still to this day is just very exciting to me. The moving van scene, it's just so cool. So
yeah, give me 1 second. I'm gonna grab something.
I was gonna say, do you have like a large Buzz Lightyear figure that you're gonna just like pick up?
You want to talk about great soundtracks? I mean, come on, let's shout out Cars. Disney Pixar Cars. Man,
no, I'm sorry.
I used to love this.
I'm not on board. On board. I'm sorry.
I'm American made. Yeah,
Life is a highway. I'm gonna ride it all night long.
Yeah.
No. I'm not going to.
Get your kicks on Route 66.
Yeah, I mean, if you're into that style of music, sure. Yeah.
Life could be a dream. Life could be a dream. Do 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 shaboom. Okay, well, yes. So we both have Pixar for our first one.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like Pixar in general would be great to revisit all the Pixar films.
I would love to. It's going to be quite undertaking. I think we could do that over time, though. Yeah. Wouldn't have to be like we're doing a Pixar full film like series. It's just once in a while.
Marathon at all.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, I'm gonna say Pokemon the first movie, baby.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah.
So Pokemon is another one that invaded like everything in my childhood. It was like you can't take Pokemon out of any aspect of it. Video games, the show, the like collectibles, plushies, and
trading cards.
Well, a little bit, but not so much. Yu-Gi-Oh was my card.
Yeah.
game
Okay. Sure.
But now I do have like a binder full of Pokemon cards.
I still collect Pokemon plushes. I love them. So
Pokemon's big. And the first movie is one that I love, especially. I think it's my favorite movie personally. But I think it's like it's really emotional, and it's also really great because I think it was the first movie, so it probably was the first one I saw that was like seeing all of my favorite characters and Pokemon together on. I can't remember if I saw it at home or not.
Probably would have been at home. I think
Pokemon 2000 was in theaters. I knew that.
Yes, Pokemon the first movie was as well. It was in 97.
Yeah, I was too young.
98. It might have been 98. I don't remember. That was huge. It was like 98. Probably was like 98. That was Pokemon Fever was real. Yeah, I remember it. It was just insane. If you're a kid.
But I will say this is my one anime film in here. Like I've
got a couple. So.
I know you are gonna have a couple.
Yeah.
But I feel like as I watch more Studio Ghibli, I would definitely have one there. I'm sure you have them there, but like because the one I thought of was maybe Secret World of Arrietty. I really love that movie.
But, it's a good pick.
But still, Pokemon is one that's like had more of an impact on me over time. And so that's my one representative for now. But in the future, having one like a silent voice kind of would be like good to have that kind of pillar. But
okay. All right, my next one is another film that I don't think I realized how much I loved it until high school. But it was a film that was still very important in my Disney watching sort of lineup when I was a young kid.
Disney.
So it kind of was like I feel like I think I almost remember the moment I realized how much I loved this movie, and I think it was kind of like this moment of I just need to get over like kind of like it's a princess film, I need to get over that kind of mentality. And then it was like in high school it was like, you know what, I love this movie, and I think I would say it's my favorite traditionally animated Disney film, and it still remains that to this day, and that's Beauty and the Beast.
Beauty and the Beast.
I adore this film. I think some of it was wasn't the one I watched the most. I think that probably would be Aladdin. Aladdin is definitely super up there for me. But no, Beauty and the Beast just had basically everything I could want. It had fun moments, great animation, just lovable characters. I really just connected with the story. I mean, Belle is just like she's my Disney princess, man.
She's the belle of the ball.
Yeah, she's great. I absolutely love her as a character. I think she's wonderful, and Beast obviously is a character that I adore as well. The conflicted, the Beast is like my introvert. He is like, I understand that torment.
People don't understand you like they don't understand the Beast.
Yeah,
It's a rough exterior.
Yeah.
Lovely music.
Something like that. Amazing soundtrack. One of the best.
It just makes me happy hearing that music, honestly.
Oh yeah, Menken was an absolute friggin' on point for that film. Him and Howard Ashman, which is the last film that he wrote lyrics to. He unfortunately died, but it was. I think that film was dedicated to him specifically, and I don't know if that one was. I'm trying to remember if that was or if it was another one. I can't remember. But it was one plus side to the Disney remakes that we won't get into super all our things about that. But one of the things that I really like about the Beauty and the Beast remake is the fact that it reunited Alan Menken with that score and it allowed him to compose new music for it. And everyone says that the songs suck. I think they're completely wrong. The songs are fantastic, and especially Evermore, which was just like arguably one of the best songs he's ever written. But the original score itself, that would have never happened had the foundation of what he had originally written in the early 90s was so spectacular. Like the song Beauty and the Beast itself is just fantastic. But you also have hits Be Our Guest. You've got Belle, the original the song at the beginning. Da, 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 da. Yeah. With her nose stuck in a book. It's such a magical film, such a fun. I love Beauty and the Beast, and I will always love that movie. And I will continue to watch it until I croak. So it's very, very special to me. So
and the live action remake, honestly, is one of the more tastefully done ones.
I would say so.
All right, for me, I think I'll go off of that. I'll say Lilo and Stitch.
Ooh, okay.
I
haven't seen this movie yet.
Yeah. All right.
I haven't seen this.
When we do our series going through all of Disney films and all of Pixar films back to back.
Now, I've already promised my friend Dubs I would watch it with him.
We'll watch it with him, but then we'll talk about it.
But then we'll talk about it.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I was torn, and I honestly was thinking about switching it as I was listening to you, because I didn't have like a musical representative here. So like I was torn between this and like Mulan maybe or Aladdin. Like those are the three big ones for like 2D Disney for me. And honestly, Aladdin and Mulan probably have listened. I spent so much time just re-watching like the videos of themselves, of just the songs. I was obsessed with those, So I probably spent way more time on those two actually. But Lilo and Stitch, something about it was always like it's a little offbeat from like the typical Disney style, and it's really I like fell in love with Stitch as a character from like the get-go. It's great.
The marketing they had for Lilo and Stitch, I fondly remember because it was so funny. Basically, they took from the only two that I remember like right now are they take a whole new world segment and the Beauty and the Beast segment, and they reanimated Stitch to show up in them and to like screw everything up. And it was great. They were so funny. It was like the chandelier in the ballroom scene. He like crashes it down and then ruins it. And then Belle's like, "Well, I'll be in my room." And then like I think I remember Stitch like cat calls her, which is really weird. It's just really weird. I think he goes like, and I was like, that's I don't know about that nowadays, but it was really funny back then.
Stitch is a little wild.
It's just a little wild. And I think I don't remember if he steals Jasmine off the magic carpet. I don't remember. But it was something weird. It was a very like steal yo girl kind of thing, which is so odd.
I remember watching the cartoon for Stitch also. There was a series.
Oh, Stitch the series? Yeah.
Yeah. And that was actually, I was really into that too. And that's where a lot of different, I had like little figures, Lilo and Stitch figures of like the different experiments and stuff.
Figure of Leroy?
Which one? Oh,
Leroy and Stitch?
I don't think I have that one. Yeah. I don't think I have
that. Okay.
But I wonder if I still have my figures in there. But I could easily switch this out with Mulan, Aladdin, though. I wanted to have like one 2D Disney representative here. So I have one Pixar, one 2D Disney,
Yeah.
one anime so far.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So I will say, just missing my list in terms of maybe offbeat Disney was Emperor's New Groove.
Yeah.
Because I think in terms of the comedy aspect of Emperor's New Groove, so funny. That movie's development story is wild. I don't know if you know anything about it, but there's a reason why that movie's only 70 minutes long. So if you don't know anything about that, look up on archive.org The Sweatbox. I highly recommend that. It's very good. But that missed my list. So let me just remind myself what my next.
Oh jeez, Ohana means family, and family means nobody gets left behind.
Indeed,
he's great.
Indeed. So next I have. We're gonna go through my anime block next, which I think might be my final 3 films, unless I make a big switch up. I'm honestly torn on a lot of these. One thing I'm not torn on is Spirited Away, which is a Studio Ghibli film, the first one that I ever saw, and I was torn between this and Princess Mononoke, but I think this one is more important to me specifically because it's the one that like got me into wow, there's the animation of anime is so good when put in the right hands, when given the time and energy. And not knowing what I do now about like the whole process of anime, the reason why the animation is not like maybe necessarily as polished as it is in a lot of Western animation is just in terms of like time and budget constraints with a lot of television shows. But with the films, like Spirited Away, it's seeing the world in such a different lens, a different, unique way than stories are told, and then how things are explored as opposed to Western films. And I think the thing that like really stood out to me, I remember very well the first time I saw it. My cat at the time, a cat that I basically was as old, if not older than me. It was like the first kind of time where he was having some like health issues. I remember it was a pretty rough emotional period of time. The cat ended up living like I think another like year or two, maybe even longer. But Spirited Away was on at the time, and it was kind of like one of those things where it's like it was the therapy I needed, because Chihiro goes through a tremendous amount of character growth, and she's there's a lot of emotional moments in the film where she's separated from her family, and she's crying, and so that was kind of like one of those therapeutic things that I needed to see, like a film that was sort of like this. But Spirited Away is just so spellbinding. Like it's just such a magical film with so many unique, fascinating ideas. The animation is just fantastic. The gross things are still beautiful. I was just so. I'd never seen something that I would consider ugly, but it still looked so beautiful when it was animated. And that to me was, I think, I was sold from then on out. I was like, anime is the bomb, yo. Like I was already kind of getting into Naruto at that time, so I knew anime was something that I enjoyed. But then it was like anime can really be art, like serious art. I haven't looked back since. I think there are other Ghibli films that I would consider, I would rate higher. But Spirited Away is definitely the one that really drove it home for me in early high school. So
yeah, that could have been on my list too, honestly.
Yeah, it's a wonderful film.
It's the best. It might be the best animated or anime film, at least, that I've seen. Like and it's one that a lot of people look back on fondly. It's held in such high regard.
Yeah, it's one of the few non-Western, I think the only non-Western so far, animated film to win Best Animated Feature in the Oscars.
Wow, yeah.
So
something about it just strikes the chord with everybody. It's like it does such a good job of taking you into this world.
The Oscars doesn't really know foreign animation very well.
They don't know
at all, but they don't care. There's just a bunch of old men. They're like, "Hey, I like that Boss Baby. You seemed like a really good film."
Boss Baby, was that nominated?
It won.
What?
Okay. It won that year. That was the year Your Name came out.
Yeah. I still haven't seen that one either.
Yeah.
Wow, Boss
Ridiculous.
Baby. Give it up for Boss Baby, though.
Give it up for Boss Baby.
Could have been on either of our lists easily.
Yeah, really. Yeah, it just spoke to me. Alec Baldwin, voice coming out of a little infant. Nothing better. You know, the magic of film.
All right, my next film is actually going to be the Spongebob Squarepants movie.
Nice pick. I love it. Love it.
Good. It's a movie that growing up I loved, and now I still love. Like whenever I watch it, never gets old. I used to, again, I was obsessed with the musical parts of all these things. I would replay the Goofy Goober rock, that final scene, over and over again. I would keep skipping to that. But this movie's so good. SpongeBob is brilliant. It's brilliant, and I will always love SpongeBob. You know, it's a really instrumental show for me as well. And again, it's like kind of a cop-out that I put Pokemon, the first movie, and the SpongeBob SquarePants movie on here. They're both shows with a film adaptation. But there's something about SpongeBob that is like so crazy. How I always said at the time, and I still say now, like that's an objectively great movie. It's not just like SpongeBob, but
it honestly it kind of is, weirdly enough. Like
it's so good.
It does so many things right. Like, especially if that had, as Steven Hillenburg wanted it to be, if that had been the end of the show, perfect ending, absolute perfect ending.
That'd be crazy. Yeah.
There's a character arc. There's growth.
David Hasselhoff
shows up. There's grown men pirates in a movie theater watching the SpongeBob movie that are just bawling their eyes out. And it's great. It's what a film.
What comedy. It's like brilliant.
Oh, it's so funny. It's very funny.
People don't understand. If you know, you know.
Yeah.
But then,
I still quote SpongeBob all the time. I do. I mean, not necessarily the movie, but
it's crazy. Yeah, but the SpongeBob impact that movie had,
comedy.
like,
yeah.
I remember in like early grade school how many times they would like watch that movie. It's like the movie day thing. Let's just watch SpongeBob SquarePants the movie or Elf. One of the two.
That'd be your Christmas one, yeah.
Yeah. No, Elf. It was sad. It got sad to the point where Elf was being watched at any time of the year.
That's okay. That's not like, right. I'm not okay with any of that.
These are the ones I have. I have Elf, and I have Remember the Titans. So, who's a favorite
Elf
of Elf?
And Remember the Titans.
And it's like,
I don't want to. Yeah, it's just like, I don't want to watch a movie about racism. Let's watch Elf. Remember the Titans is amazing. It's what a great movie.
But I remember even like it got to the point where it was so exhausted that Elf, like people loved Elf, but then we were even getting tired of it. But it's like I would still prefer that over the other ones. Let's watch that. It's the freaking Elf or Ice Age.
That we get the meltdown. How did we go to the same thing? Oh man.
But so that's great. Along those same lines, SpongeBob SquarePants the movie. It just like it was a pop culture phenomenon. I think it's like kind of like the Simpsons movie, how that was huge at the time.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
SpongeBob it was SquarePants movie is
massive.
Like it had no right being that good for what it was.
All
right, so back to you.
Okay, so I'm like these last two are really rough. Or I should say, I know what one of them is right now, but there's another one that I don't know if I should bring that one up first, or if I just go ahead. So, innocence of childhood completely shattered. Now we were just laughing about SpongeBob. This has nothing to do. This is about this is existential and about trauma and about the end of the world, and that is End of Evangelion.
Huh. Okay.
It's one of my favorite films, animated films ever. But to me, it encapsulates everything that I love about anime, in terms of the insane concepts that you don't typically see in Western animation. I mean, it's literally about an apocalypse, more or less. The world ends, and the visual tour de force of that film, some of the most trippy stuff I've ever seen animated. Beautiful, horrifying, and completing I guess it's a more fitting conclusion to the show than the last two episodes tend to be regarded as. It's very powerful. It's not a happy film. It's not a children's film by any means. I won't spoil anything about what's happening, but I will say, the opening line of the English dub is so perfect in terms of encapsulating what just happened that you didn't necessarily see, but you know what happened. And our main character, Shinji, says, "I'm so fucked up." And yeah. And you know it's not going to be a happy film, from here on out, because of those in the know, exactly what happens in the very beginning of that film. So, not pleasant. But also one of the best uses of like musical juxtaposition I've ever heard. So while the world is ending, it's kind of a banger. It's kind of a happy. It's a great song. Like, it's an amazing song, but it's also upbeat, which is weird when the world is ending and everyone's like getting turned into goop. Wild. It's a wild film, but I appreciate it for the high concept. A lot of the show is really more about exploring the human condition in a way. Like, it sounds so pretentious to say that, but that is a lot of what the show is. It's about how its director was grappling with like depression and mental health, and a lot of that is like in the show is all basically animated and out for the whole world to see, and it culminates in this film in such a perfect way. And I love it. I loved the film. I had watched the series before I'd gone to college. I didn't watch the film, so I just watched the series. I hadn't seen the film. I saw the film in college, and yeah, it blew my mind. Absolutely made me. I'm super. Anime is like one of my preferred mediums, just in terms of expression and the art style. I jive with it. It really speaks to me as in terms of the kind of concepts and things that a lot of Japanese directors and animators focus on. And it's the film's great. I absolutely love it. It's definitely not for everybody, but it's one of my favorites, just period. And it's definitely very important to me and helped sort of flesh out that mindset for me.
Nice.
Yeah.
I really knew nothing about that show.
Yeah.
So you want me to watch that at some point, I know. But
yeah. I'm interested to see like what an kind of an outsider's opinion, I guess, would be of Evangelion. Someone who's not necessarily, you've watched plenty of anime, but you're not like I'm a huge anime fan. You don't collect figures or whatever like me. So
I got a couple. I've got where is he?
You got SpongeBob the pop figure?
Zuko Midoriya back there.
Oh, nice.
I love My Hero Academia, which is why the movie, I haven't watched that movie yet. Maybe it would be on here.
Aren't there two of them now? I think there's, yeah.
I actually have the first one, and I ordered the second one, so I'm going to watch them soon. But
yeah.
my last movie, Save the best for last, baby. It's Shrek 2. Get Shrek'd on.
I knew this was gonna. I knew this was coming because we've talked about this before.
Get absolutely Shrek'd on, my dude. Shrek 2 is near and dear to me. Grew up on that one a lot. Honestly, I could have put Shrek the Third, just in the fact that is my most watched movie of all time.
Yep.
Shrek the Third. Famously, my DVD player stopped working when Shrek the Third was in it, so I couldn't get it to eject. So rather than suffer no movies, I watched Shrek the Third consecutively for days, weeks, months on end. Shrek the Third was all I heard.
I like how that rhymes. You could write slam poetry to that. That was amazing.
But Shrek the 2 is objectively better than the third. Yeah. Obviously. Shrek the 2 is not there. It's not it.
Okay.
But by definition, Shrek the Third would be something to define me, just because it was ingrained in me. Shrek 2 is the one I picked because it's the most memorable for me, and I would replay the musical portion. I Need a Hero, classic scene. We love that. Where human Shrek comes riding in on big horse, donkey, stallion.
Epic moments.
It's an epic moment.
Cinematic history. Things.
Shrek 2 on GameCube is a game that I also played a lot of.
Okay. Yeah.
Not many people have played it, but it's great. It's like a classic. You have 4 characters. You could have up to 4 players play, almost like Gauntlet style, but with Shrek characters.
Wow.
And you could switch around. It's great. Shrek 2. We want to do a Shrek movie review series at some point, and that would be great because again, it's another one I haven't taken a critical eye to.
I've only ever seen the first 2.
Okay.
So
I've seen all of them, including Puss in Boots.
I haven't even seen that.
Not Shrek the musical. But
funny fact about Shrek 2. I remember I think I was in middle school. I think it was in 7th or 8th grade when Shrek 2 came out, and I remember very distinctly that I was made fun of by people because I went and saw Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban instead of going to see Shrek 2.
So that's embarrassing, bro.
That is embarrassing. It is so embarrassing. The fact that I clearly had more taste than all of these people.
No, it's embarrassing that you didn't see Shrek 2.
Yeah, no, well, I did eventually. So here's the thing. I did eventually see Shrek 2 later in that summer. Because it was like, it came out like the late spring, early summer kind of thing. So it was like towards the end of school. And I went and I saw it, and I was like, okay, that sure was a fun movie. Yeah. I still liked Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban more. Despite the fact that I had some narrative problems with that in terms of its differences from the book,
look at that.
and I think objectively, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban is the best Harry Potter film, even though it's not my favorite.
Objectively,
and just in terms of the filmmaking, and I think I'm right. I think I can.
We should take a closer look at that at some point. Do a video: Shrek 2 versus Harry Potter
and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Yeah, it would be an epic.
And really break it down. Which one is better? It's hard to say.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Sounds good.
That's it. What's your final?
So I've been so torn, honestly. So I want to give a shout out to Akira. But I was like, it's a little too similar in terms of like dark tone of like End of Evangelion.
I thought that might have been what your last one was.
Akira is very significant to me, but to me it sort of fits the same sort of mold that End of Eva does. Darker concepts, definitely geared towards adults, and that kind of mentality of storytelling. Body horror, obviously, in both of them. But I honestly, and I wanted to give it to you. I was thinking maybe Your Name, because Your Name was very important to me when I watched it.
Yeah.
About a couple years ago, or it might have been last year. It was a couple years ago. It's super huge. Absolutely love that movie. Have the big collector's edition. But I'm actually gonna throw a total curveball, and it's gonna be a film I've talked about before on Tarqaron.
Yes.
And that is Advent Children. Final Fantasy VII Advent Children.
Oh, okay.
Didn't
expect that.
Yeah, I didn't expect it either, but as I was thinking about it, I was like, I have to put this film on here because this is a period of time towards the end of high school. It was my senior year, and then at my gap year, I was starting to get a little bit more further into role-playing games more than I had before. Obviously, I had played like Tales of Symphonia in high school, was super influential to me. But I was really wanting to play some Final Fantasy games in the lead up to Final Fantasy 13, because I was very excited about that. It was a very pretty looking game, and I was like, yeah, and you all know my feelings about that game, very, very positive. So I was wanting to be like, I just need to consume Final Fantasy media. I'm just so interested in it. So the Distant Worlds soundtrack, very important. Final Fantasy IV on the DS, also very important. But possibly most significantly, but just I would say in terms of, is very influential in branching out my interests, other aspects of my gaming life, was Advent Children. I had played, as I said, Final Fantasy IV on the DS. I'd played through an emulator Final Fantasy III, which was actually Final Fantasy VI. But Advent Children really stuck with me, which is saying something because I hadn't played Final Fantasy VII. And the later film, Advent Children Complete, much better version of the movie. You could kind of lump them both together here, honestly. Advent Children Complete, I think they're definitely very influential on me. I consumed that soundtrack. The soundtrack of Advent Children, I just listened to it all the time, and I never got tired of it. And I did that in my gap year. I remember throughout the summer when I would mow lawns, that'd be what I listened to. When we went on our trip down to Florida to Disney World, I listened to it like almost all the time. I was listening to it like going to sleep. I listened to it on the plane ride. I listened to it when we were like driving places. And it was just super, super important to me, that music and that soundtrack. And that's where I really fell in love with Final Fantasy music, I would say. The Distant World soundtrack was very important too, but the music, the stunning visuals, I kind of fell in love with these characters that I didn't even know from the game. And yeah, it's been just a love affair with Final Fantasy ever since, really. I mean, it's really what kind of even more kindled my interest in, I need to play this Final Fantasy 13 game. It's like, it looks a lot like Advent Children. Like, the cutscenes in it look just like Advent Children. The graphics are that good. So yeah, that's it. Advent Children and Advent Children Complete was a very important film to me. Not just because of what it is as a film, which is fine, but it's more in terms of showing how branched out into my life it kind of has echoed or rippled out into. So, yeah.
Well, there you have it. Those are the 10 films that define Tarqaron right there.
Yeah.
I, in retrospect, would change a lot of what I did. I didn't put nearly as much thought into it as I did before.
That's okay.
There are definitely a couple I would switch out for sure.
All right.
It's great. No, it's definitive.
There you go. It's the definitive list, yeah.
I thought about it in the past, even with the ones I spent a lot of time thinking about. I still would have changed a couple now, looking back. But,
yeah.
It's a thing, right? I don't think there's anything else that we can do in this category.
Yeah, we've sort of bandied about like music, maybe like albums, or maybe potentially characters, but it's harder for me, at least, maybe books. It's harder for me to really kind of justify a lot of that, though, in terms of the concept of define us. We can talk about some of our favorite things. I think we can do more like top tens. I would be totally down for that. More lists, more favorite lists, but I think it will be more akin to favorite lists rather than a little bit more clear cut than the define us. Yeah.
Thinking,
yeah.
What does defining really mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll have to explore that more. What kind of things we could get into.
There you go. That's a nice variety of movies there, though. We didn't have any overlap.
It is.
Got a lot of good children's comedies on your side.
Yes.
Then you have like weird dark stuff on mine. So you've got.
Yeah, I was surprised. I thought maybe you would say A Silent Voice. I thought.
Koi no Katachi is A Silent Voice is very, very important to me.
If there was any chance that a movie you reviewed would be on a list like this, that would probably be it.
It was close. It was actually on. So I in the Google Doc I was writing on, I had question marks. So there's A Silent Voice, Your Name, Akira, and Advent Children. Wally was also on there. This Wally was also very very significant to me. But I tried not to double dip on studios. So.
Yeah, make sure to do that at least. Like, I have Disney, Pixar, DreamWorks, and then whatever Pokemon and SpongeBob are.
Pokemon would be Toho, and then Toho Animation. I don't remember who does Pokemon.
Yeah,
can't remember. But yeah, SpongeBob is Nickelodeon. So
yeah. I mean, I thought about Coco. Coco is like a recent one that's big for me, but
very good.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel. Oh wait, if you have do you have a video that you would recommend viewers watch after watching?
Yeah, this? Go check out our top 10 games that define us video games.
It's an oldie.
It's an oldie. It's a good one.
I feel like I'm a lot more confident with that list.
That list to me, I don't think has changed. I've actually been. Spoiler for another, because I already mentioned one, but spoiler for another one. I've actually really wanting to get back to play Katao Shoujo again. I mean, it's weird to be like, I really want to play that visual novel again. But honestly, I've been listening to a lot of the music again recently, and it's like, man, I really should play that again. So
there's I had a lot more. It was indecisiveness then too, but I was like, I can look at the games I ended up on and be like, wow, yeah, that's a good mapping of the kind of video games that I appreciate,
Same for me.
So yeah, we'll have to see more things like this we can do, but for now, this is a series that is it's only been a few videos, but it's stretched across all this time. It was one of the first videos we did, and now here we are almost 2 years later. So. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the podcast feed, like the video, leave a comment, hit the notification bell, follow us on Twitter and Facebook, Tarqaron TWO. Okay?
Do it.
Thank you.